You have a character that most people in the civilian world do not. You have experiences that they will never experience. You can learn technical skills, but you can't learn grit and determination. The courage and the ability to cover down for your battle buddy, the willingness to help out your coworker even if it doesn't help you in any way or whatsoever, that cannot be learned. Your career after the military is no longer structured and linear. It can take you all over the place, right? You don't know what you're gonna do next. You don't know when you're gonna get promoted. It's not, hey, after 3 years, you're gonna go to captain's career course and you're gonna, get your sergeant promotion and go to the promotion board. It's really on you to figure it out. About 60 days before leaving the Army, I worked with a recruiting agency that helps place junior military officers into Fortune 500 companies, and went through the whole interview process for an operations role. It matched my experience very well. I thought it was a great fit, and I moved up to New Jersey to start the job. After being in the Army, I thought I would want all the freedom in the world. Like, I don't want to be structured anymore. I don't want to have micromanaging leaders. But I actually liked having a boss who was able to give me clear, concise directions and what the overall mission is. So I'll tell you a little bit more about my first job. It was an operation and sales role. I managed a team of about 8 people, and they would all be servicing our customers in different areas. I would say it was about like 80% operations, 20% sales. It kind of felt like being a platoon leader again, with a bunch of squad leaders who are all managing their own lines of business. I wasn't making like significantly more than I was in the Army with my first job after I got out, but I had a great boss and amazing coworkers who trusted me, and it gave me a lot of experience dealing with KPIs and learning about how the everyday business affects the profitability of a satellite location that ladder ups to the rest of the company. And as I worked that job, there were just little things along the way that I was like, you know what? I think I like this, and I don't think I like that. Having to wear a shirt and tie every day, and then having clear bosses with such like clear titles, and they didn't feel approachable. I wanted to be in an environment where like I can just casually talk to someone and I don't need to worry about how many thread counts I have in my suit, and that determines what kind of position I hold. Also, career progression in the civilian world is just not as clear. In my first job, there was a queue of other people who held the same title as me, and I will kind of need to wait for all of them to get promoted, or I would need to be exponentially better than them to get the next job title. And it was a big jump. Not all companies are structured that way. Some other companies have more intermediary roles along the way for you to promote into, but I knew that the best way to get a bigger pay raise was to actually switch jobs instead of trying to get promoted within the company. Your first job is going to be a stepping stone, and treat it like an experiment to figure out what you like and dislike, because it's your first job outside the Army. You don't have any experience, but you will gain a lot of valuable experience that you can also put on your resume, and it'll help you for your next job. So don't think that you're going to stay at your first job forever. Treat it like a stepping stone for the rest of your career and to set yourself up for success. This leads me to my next point, which is to consider higher education. It's never too late to get your education, and the opportunity cost for veterans is much lower than others. I know you might not think that. You probably think, I already took a huge risk getting out of the Army, trying to get a job that might even pay me less than what I was getting paid or something like that. But trust me, in the long run, it will pay off. I went and got my master's in business at Carnegie Mellon University, and that's what I did right after I quit my first job. I knew that to open more doors, I needed to do it through something else. It wasn't just gonna be about having the perfect resume. I was gonna need more help than that. And that's ultimately what higher education does for you. It's gonna open up more doors, and it did for me, and that's how I got into big tech. I went from an operations/sales role to a product manager in big tech. And the only way I was able to make career pivots and a huge jump in salary is because I went and pursued my higher education. Even if it's not a master's and you have yet to complete your undergrad, go and pursue that undergraduate degree, because that will open doors for you as well. And you could try and punch and shoot up much higher than you would have. As a veteran, you're gonna have unique experience that you're gonna bring to the table that not other high school students will be able to bring. There are great organizations like Service to School and other nonprofits that will help mentor you and get you connected and help you prepare for the interviews to get into these prestigious schools. And when I say it's a lower opportunity risk for veterans to pursue these higher education, is you can use vocational rehab, you can use your GI Bill if you have them, and a lot of schools will have special programs for veterans to help them out, whether it's scholarships or waiving application fees. I did not have to spend any money on applying to schools. You'd be surprised how expensive it is just to put in an application into a school, and they usually waive that for veterans. But there is a caveat to that. Do not go to just any school. Don't go to school for the sake of going to school. Go for a specific purpose or mission. I knew that I wanted to pivot and break into big tech, so I intentionally chose and seeked out a school that was well networked and would send their students to these big tech companies. Prestige behind the school definitely matters a little bit. Do not just go to Phoenix University and just try and milk out your GI Bill, okay? That is not the move. Even if you go to school in a non-traditional sense. I know electricians and plumbers can make a ton of money. It can be your path to entrepreneurship where you then own your own business. Like, basically what I'm trying to say is pursue higher education, yes, but do it with a purpose. Make sure you know what you want to get out of it. As veterans, most of us are going to be super humble and not try and talk up all the stuff that we did and the things that we have. And sometimes, even if we want to sell ourselves, we just don't know how to translate that experience, right? You can't talk to your interviewer about all the cool reconnaissance missions you did and how you raided that compound or whatever. None of that makes sense. They just know you were in the Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force, or whatever it is. And to them, it's all the same. But the thing that you should not forget is you have a character that most people in the civilian world do not. You have experiences that they will never experience. You can learn technical skills, but you can't learn grit and determination. The courage and the ability to cover down for your battle buddy, the willingness to help out your coworker, even if it doesn't help you in any way or whatsoever, that cannot be learned. And you will find that is actually difficult to come across outside of the military. What you think should be a given is not the case outside of the military. So you just need to be able to convey that factor and also learn how to sell yourself and hype yourself up. So basically what I'm really saying is learning how to translate all that into your resume and your interview, that's a whole nother thing that I could probably talk about in a lengthy discussion. But the takeaway here is don't put yourself down. Do not sell yourself short. You are way more valuable than you think, and don't get in your head about it. When I was writing my admission essay to Carnegie Mellon, at first I started out just by writing about like all the things that I did in the Army, and it was like, this cool mission, this hard thing, one after another. And then I was like, this is just like my resume all over again, right? This is just kind of telling someone and bragging about the things that I may have done that other people may not have done. But I think what I did to really change that and to show my personality and characteristics of having resilience and grit is I didn't talk about the things I did, but how I did them. So instead of talking about like Ranger School being a suck fest of 62 days, I talked about how I was in terrible conditions with my peers, and yet we laughed through those moments and created special bonds to then accomplish great things. And how we handled the situation, not about what the situation was or what we did. And I think that's how you're gonna be able to shine. You need to show your confidence and resilience and how you handle situations, more so than trying to explain what the situation was. I don't think so. I think getting a job right out of the Army and then going to school later to then pivot my career, it gave me good experience, not only for my resume, but also for me to realize what I want in a job and don't want in a job. So if I didn't work and I just went right into my MBA, which I know a lot of my peers have done that, they go straight from the military into higher education school to then get a job. I wouldn't have known that like, hey, I don't want to do consulting and banking. Like I specifically want to go into tech or operations. I think that was a good realization to have. And I only had that realization because I had a job before school. So if you're thinking about getting out of the military, this is what I would tell you. Get a job in your field of interest because you're going to learn a lot of skills and you're going to gain experience. And think about using it as your stepping stone. You're going to be able to figure out if this is your career field of interest that you want to continue to pursue in the future or not, and that's okay. You're no longer bound to your job with a contract. You're not married to your job anymore. You can quit whenever you want, okay? And it's no longer going to be your identity. So find something interesting because you really need to set yourself up for long-term success. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions and want to hear more about how to translate your skills onto a resume or how to prepare for an interview and things like that. I received a ton of help from other veterans and other people to get me to where I am, so I'm happy to share the things that I've learned along the way.